Hello, everyone, and welcome to your online lesson series for the middle school. Obviously, this is not the best way to educate you about the Catholic faith. It is not the ideal, it's not even close to being fun, and yet it's what we have right now. So, I've been asked to do 10 lessons, and these lessons will be spread out over the course of the next several weeks. And each time we do a lesson, you'll be doing a reflection paragraph about something that I'm going to ask you about at the very end of the video. So it's a pleasure for me to communicate with you in some way, shape, or fashion to give you some information about this year's subject matter. And this year's subject matter for the middle school is going to be the Old Testament. And I know what you're thinking. Most people that are Catholic say, I don't want to learn about the Old Testament. That was for the Jewish people thousands of years ago. I'm Christian, I'm Catholic. Just let me get to the second half of the Bible and let me get to the good stuff about Jesus. And I felt that way as well until I actually began to study the Old Testament in college and then especially in my graduate studies towards my master's degree in theology. I took 4 courses about the Old Testament, and I found that the Old Testament is a treasure that most of us never dig into. And certainly over the course of 10 short classes, there's no way I'm going to be able to unlock all the treasures of the Old Testament for you, but I'm going to try my best to give you some instruction about what wonderful teachings there are in the Old Testament. When you know the Old Testament, everything Jesus said and did makes sense, more sense, because Jesus was a Jewish man from the province of Galilee, from a little town that he grew up in called Nazareth. He visited the capital city of Israel, Jerusalem. He went to the synagogue, he went to the temple in Jerusalem, and he practiced the Jewish faith. So Jesus was a practicing Jewish man. And he even said, when he was giving us the idea of Christianity and how to behave, he said, I did not come to abolish, meaning take away, the old law. Rather, I've come to perfect it. So a lot of what Jesus said and did is better understood and means a lot more when you know the material of the Old Testament. Before we get into our first lesson on the Old Testament, I just want to go over the mandatory Circle of Grace lesson for this year. As you probably know, the leadership of the Catholic Church in Rhode Island, called the Diocese of Providence, Bishop Thomas Tobin and Bishop Robert Evans are our bishops. And in that office of the Diocese of Providence, the Religious Education Office, it is mandatory that we talk about the Circle of Grace at least once per year. The Circle of Grace, when you were little, you were told was an area around you about the length of your arms, that if you swung your arms around in a circle, that circle would be your circle of grace. And that is your personal space that no one, but no one, is able to enter without your permission, and no one should ever say or do anything to make you feel uncomfortable, less than human, or weird in your circle of grace. And that certainly still is something that you need to be aware of. If you are at church and something like that happens, you should go immediately to Monsignor Thiru, Monsignor Kenny, myself, or one of the parish staff that can assist you. And we certainly need to know what happened to you and all the circumstances around it. If it happens at school, you should obviously go to a trusted adult at school, whether it be the principal or an adult teacher that you trust. If it happens at home, then obviously you should find a trusted adult that you can give the information to or call the police. So certainly, anything were to ever happen to you where you feel less than human and you feel violated, you should bring it to someone's attention immediately. And now that you're in middle school and getting older, I also want you to be aware that the circle of grace and the boundaries that the circle of grace sets up also is in place for you to control who you are, especially when you're on websites, on social media. When you are connected to the internet, you are putting yourself out there for the whole world to see. And it doesn't matter what your privacy settings are on any of the social media websites that you use, people can access your stuff. And certainly, you need to be very careful about what you're posting, what you're saying, and how you're presenting yourself online. It's up to all of us to make sure that we represent our faith, not just in church, but at home, and that would include how we conduct ourselves on social media and in the cyber world as well. So that is your Circle of Grace lesson for this particular year, and I hope you take the warnings very seriously and the message very seriously that we want you to be safe, we want you to be happy, we want you to be healthy, we want you to be holy. And if anything's preventing that, see one of us immediately and we can help you. Now on to the first lesson of the Old Testament. And we'll start in the first book of the Bible, the book of Genesis. And the first thing we see that we're going to talk about today is the creation of the universe. And this is where it's very important for you to know how a Catholic reads the Bible. Some Christians take the Bible literally and they believe it to be true word for word. We Catholics take a little bit of a different approach. We believe that everything in the Bible has biblical truth, but some things, especially a lot of the stories of the Old Testament of the Bible, have exaggerated details or are more myths rather than being true historical stories. So we as Catholics do not read the Bible as a history book or a science book, but rather we read it knowing that it's been divinely inspired, that everything in the Bible God wants us to know through the biblical authors. And we're looking for biblical truth. So for example, if you were to trace back the history of the Jewish people, the creation story of the 7 days of creation would only date back about 7,000 or 8,000 years. And yet we know that the universe is billions of years old. Also, we certainly know that you can go to any museum and you can touch a piece of a meteor or a fossil of a dinosaur that would be way older than 7,000 or 8,000 years. So, what's true? The account of the Bible or science that tells us that the universe is billions of years old? And the answer is both. In the creation story, the story is presented that God puts things in order and God wills things into being. I can believe in the Big Bang Theory, which science tells us was responsible for the creation of the universe. But I can also believe that it was God who willed that to happen. God who lit the fuse of the Big Bang to bring the universe into being. So the creation story, as you're about to see, shows that there's an order to creation, that it wasn't just some coincidence or random event, but it was God himself willing that creation happen and that everyone and everything be created as it was. I'm going to help to go over the creation story with you with this video that I found on YouTube so that you don't have to stare at me the whole time. And I'm hoping that you find this video entertaining and that you enjoy it. So let's see what this video can actually teach us about the creation of the universe. So for day one, when God separates the light from the darkness, we know the reason why we have day and night is obviously because the earth is revolving around the sun and the earth is spinning as it revolves around the sun. But how about this? In all the trillions and trillions and trillions of miles of space in the universe, do you know that if the earth was just a few hundred miles closer to the sun, or a few hundred miles further away from the sun, human beings would not exist? So, in all those trillions of miles of space, the Earth was put exactly where it needs to be for human life and other life on Earth to be able to flourish. So, that's where we believe that God had his hand in creating not only the universe, but our solar system, our world, and our world is put exactly where it needs to be in order for us to be able to survive and thrive. On day two, it says that God created the sky and that the earth was separated from the water under the earth and on the oceans of the earth from the water above the sky. Ancient peoples, because the sky is blue on a sunny day and the color of water, they thought that there were doorways in what today we would call the atmosphere. And if you open those doorways, water would come flying down. So they thought that there was water above the earth in the upper reaches of the atmosphere, and that's why it was worded that way. By the way, again, our atmosphere gives us oxygen. It protects us from rays of very toxic things that would kill us. And again, that atmosphere was put there in a beautiful design so that you and I could breathe air and be free of toxic chemicals that would instantly kill us. So the sky is absolutely essential, the way it was set up, in order for us to have life. It is a biological fact that without our moon, we would not exist. The moon governs so much with the tides of the oceans and so many other essential things for human life and animal life and even plant life to be able to develop. So God gathered the seas into these basins. We obviously, with a lot of other plants and animals, live on dry land. Of course, there are fish in the sea, and now the sun and moon work in this beautiful balance and dance to give us day and night. So on day 6, God had made all of the lower animals, and then God made human beings in his own image and likeness. So we believe that we have a special dignity that no other animal or creature that God created has. And how do we know that this dignity is real and that we are more special than anything else that God created? We have free will. We have the ability to reason, the ability to make our own choices and affect the world in the way that no other animal or plant can do. So the creation story teaches us that we are special, that we are created in God's image and likeness for a purpose and a destiny to make the world a better place. Interesting that it shows that God rested on the 7th day. And obviously, God isn't human and God wouldn't get tired. But this was put into the creation story to teach our Jewish brothers and sisters about the value of the Sabbath. The Sabbath day, a special day where no work would be done, where you take one day out of 7 and devote it to God. If you try to go to Chick-fil-A or Hobby Lobby on Sundays, you will be disappointed because those places are closed on Sunday because the owners of those companies want their workers to be able to spend a special day with their families. I grew up in a generation where nothing was open on Sundays. All stores and malls and movie theaters were closed on Sunday, and it was a day to go to Mass and then to spend special time with my family. And I remember those memories very fondly now that most of my relatives that I used to spend those Sundays with are in heaven with God. So the truth in the 7th day of creation of resting really meant for the Jewish people that they should observe the Sabbath, and for you and I, it means that Sunday is a special day, that we should get to Mass and make sure that we hear the Word of God and that we should nourish ourselves with the Eucharist each and every week. So, in the creation story, we learn that there is a plan to all of this craziness of this universe and of this world. It gives us hope to know that God is in control. It tells us that we have a special place and destiny in creation and that we should act accordingly. So, that was lesson 1, and that's just the first few lines of the first chapter of the first book of the Old Testament. Next time, we're going to speak about what happens next in creation, and unfortunately, it's the sin that enters the world through Adam and Eve. So we'll talk about the fall of human beings in sin, and we'll do that next time. What I would like you to do for your reflection this time is I would like you to focus on this. Answer the question, do you believe that God created the universe and everything in it? Does it give you hope to know that God is in control? And do you think that every person should give one day back to God and practice his or her faith by going to Mass and by treating Sunday as a special day? So please work the answers to those three questions into your reflection paragraph, and I will see you soon with another lesson, and I wish you a wonderful day. God bless.